Well, I really like these. I like this feature. Putting that single coil in the humbucker.
Yeah.
So this is the bridge.
Oh, these things are wicked.
Yeah.
And you guys are sitting here watching us yammer on, but hey, thank you so much for watching the Main Stage Music live stream. You made the wise choice to tune in.
It's our show. We do what we want.
Yeah. So I'm Brad. This is Jamie with Main Stage Music, and today we got a very cool episode because of a really cool thing that happened this week.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that y'all understand how important Roland and Boss is to the amplifier community. I mean, we've all heard of how important Marshall is, and Vox, and Fender, and so on. But Roland? But really, since the 1970s, the Roland JC amplifiers, which means Jazz Cube, by the way, or Jazz Chorus, have set the standard for just very high quality, clean, and reliable guitar amplifiers. Yeah. Primarily heads. Have been used by, golly bum, who have they not been used by? I mean, well, Prince and...
Yeah, Widespread Panic.
Yeah, well, I mean...
JB uses them a whole bunch.
I mean,
or he did, I guess. He's kind of back to Mesa now. But
when it comes to gear, Roland is one of those few companies that has never made a real miss, have they? I can't think of a product that anyone's ever maligned.
You play with language about Boss in a way that most you as a dealer talk about Boss in ways that players don't.
Okay,
because
that's fair.
Boss is probably easy for people to kind of disrespect more than someone who's like seeing the numbers of how popular they are, seeing how likely they are to come back in on warranty, seeing those kinds of things. You're seeing them as a stalwart in the community, whereas people through fads might not always think of them as being
that's
like...
Fair. That's fair. Because it's like this. One thing I'm not going to, discredit at all is that there is nothing artistic and hippie and romantic and cute about Boss. But when you want something to work and you want to know exactly what it's going to sound like, how it's going to perform. Let's say you're going to go to a gig and you want to either depend, this is the gig, and you're going to depend on something. Are you going to depend on the boutique Icelandic made, overdrive using or are you going to depend on the Boss blues driver?
Who's the Icelandic overdrive pedal?
It's the pedal project's Klon that I've got sitting over there in pieces we tried working on because it doesn't work anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
It is, because it was a good sounding pedal, fun while it lasted.
I was thinking on the ride up. So the thing about the Roland and the Boss amps, they've had artist appeal, and they've stayed
always.
A JC120 is normally in any kind of backline rig, so
always,
it's been around. It may not be super popular, but it's super popular, like you said, when you need something loud and clean, which is what the heck it was designed to do.
Yep.
But I was thinking about I heard somebody talk about Strats. Like they feel like people use Strats because you can make yourself as presented forward on a Strat, as opposed to the Strat making you sound a certain way. I don't know if I agree with that, but I've heard it said. But I think it's analogous because I've heard other people say it, so we'll assume that it's in the general consciousness. But Roland, in many ways, is the same kind of thing. If you need for an amp to help you sound a certain way, a Vox, a Matchless, a Marshall, then you buy a Vox, a Matchless, a Marshall. If you already know what you want to sound like, and you want to craft the device to sound like you, then you buy something like this, because I would like to think that's the target. That seems to be the way the copy is written about these, is that you tune these to how you hear, as opposed to trying out 70 boutique amps and this one speaks to me.
So let's just, first of all, I'm going to lay some ground rules. I do not work for Boss, and I wish I could know a fraction of what these guys at Boss know. And hopefully some of my friends at Boss, are watching. Aaron, Yoshi, all these guys. They're geniuses, okay? And I am not. I have a very, very small understanding. So that, you got that joke? I love it. So that being said, here's what I do know.
You got this much understanding?
Understanding, very small. You Japanese with such big understanding.
You big understanding.
Me, very small understanding. But now that being said, back in the 90s, because that's kind of when I really came up in the whole pro music thing, one of the coolest amps that I loved at the time was the Blues Cube, okay? It was a tan-colored amp by Roland, and they came in various models. They came in the Blues Cube 30 and the Blues Cube 60. You could get a single 12. You could even get a 310, which is really a neat layout.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if you've got a Blues Cube from the 90s...
That's kind of a nod, though, right? The 310 layout is kind of a nod to the combos. It was
exactly the old Supers and even the Tone Masters and stuff like that.
Verb.
There's a lot of neat.
What was a Vibra King? It's a 310.
Vibra King.
But what was the first 310 combo? Was it?
I don't want to say something and then some guy tell me I'm wrong.
Did a Tremolux come as a 310?
Tremolux? I don't think so. There was a piggyback.
Pre-Blackface.
Pre-Black? No, I did a 210. But I mean, we'll who knows? Leo Fender, the only thing constant was the fact that they were not consistent.
Until proven otherwise, there were a number of them.
Hey, Ron, thank you for calling. We do love your comments, by the way, and I do read them on the air. Ron, we're talking about Boss and Roland amplifiers and how Boss and Roland has really affected positively the entire pro music market for the last 50 years, hands down.
Does Ron have one?
Ron, do you have any Boss products? I'm sure you do.
And Greg, I think, was happy that he finally got to be at the beginning of it.
Oh, awesome. Well, Greg, we love you, buddy. And it was good seeing you yesterday, by the way. Thank you so much. So that being said, back in the 90s, the Blues Cube amplifiers were really something. But that was before the new Class D digital power amplifiers came out. So although most Blues Cube amps that are out there, if you find one on the used marketplace, they probably still work, extremely stable. They had a very simple sound set. They used an early version of what Roland called Tube Logic. Now, Tube Logic was developed with a rack processor. You might remember, because you're like my 90s gear friend.
Yeah, I don't know if...
The GP100, which was a rack-mounted, it was awesome. And I remember the ad in Guitar Player magazine.
A Digitech contender.
Oh, man.
Digitech and ADA.
Here's the thing about Digitech. Digitech was real razzle-dazzle, the GSP 2101 and so. And Boss was the stable, stalwart, okay? So it's almost like the Helix versus the T1000 or whatever. But anyways, the GP100 had used the COSM technology and what they called Tube Logic. And what Tube Logic was is the earliest version of what we'd now call very intense modeling. But with Boss, they weren't just recording an amp sound and replaying it the way a lot of Line 6 stuff did, which, by the way, is great. I love Line 6 product. I'm not a hater. But the Tube Logic goes deeper than that. They analyze the transformers. They analyze tube sag. You know, when tubes start to kind of die, they'll sag, and even bias. You know, when you adjust all that stuff, there are nuanced aspects of the tone of that amplifier that that's my sound, okay? And you can't fake that.
It's a dangerous thing to chase, man.
You can't fake it. So it's one of those things where with Boss, that kind of, this isn't, anybody knows, I'm not racist. So this is a Japanese trait, though. They love to hyper-analyze things, and they will craft things that we didn't even know we needed. Okay, but then once they do it, we're like, that was awesome, thank you. And Roland has always been the best at doing that.
Yeah, but they have, it's a weird thing. It's like, man, I get it from a commercial standpoint, but man, I really love this tube amp with modern tubes, modeling new old stock, plate voltage, whatever we're trying to get to, and then running them, the bias ahead, so it's really cooking, and like that's the sound that I'm really into. And Boss is like, whoa, let's put that in a compact pedal box. It's like, no, I'm excited about the amp. Let me just enjoy the cooking Tolex glue and the glass. And they're like, it sounds exactly the same here.
Well, back in the day, so Roland came out. They had a few amplifiers back in the 90s. They had the Blues Cube, which was really cool. I loved them. And they had the Jazz Chorus. but they really didn't have much else other than acoustic amps and stuff. Well, then enter into the 2000s, and they introduced their Cube series of amplifiers.
But that's the whole point. They've got different like production levels for price points.
They definitely. Well,
And
now
then-
especially.
and
That's
then-
kind of what I was getting at.
And then they've got different chassis and sizes. But the point is not like, oh, we make this amp to sound this way, we make this amp.
No,
The
everything they
amps
make-
all like cover.
The quality
the
of
point.
all Roland
Yeah.
stuff is the same. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying the
So-
point is to cover a lot of ground.
Absolutely. And everything they make, no matter if it's inexpensive or very costly, the quality is the same with all Boss stuff. It is excellent. Okay, so this is not a oh, that's better than this or anything like that. It's just more design. So that being said, into the 2000s they came up with the Cube series amps, but in the last few years, Boss has really tuned in that players are, we'll call them kind of cliquey. Okay, you have players that, well, I'm only into this kind of stuff. Oh, I'm only into this kind of stuff, and I'm into this. So Boss now has effectively 3 primary food groups of amplifiers, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, they also did 2 other things. They developed AIRD technology, which is basically
Very
their
cool.
COSM and IR packaged together. That's in the GT1000. But then they also launched a line of, oh, you guys are modding our stuff, or you guys want premium components? Well, here you go. We've had all that mess here. Here's the Waza line.
Yeah.
So like,
that's insane. By the way,
this speaker is a blue Waza speaker
It
in
is.
here.
Well,
So-
we're going to get into that. So.
But they did both of those things in their line that influenced what they can draw from to add to them.
So the 3 lines that we brought in, now there technically are more than just 3, but the 3 main for guitar players food groups are the line of Katana, the line of Next Tone, and then the Blues Cube line, which technically isn't Boss, it's Roland, but it's still the same family. So you might be thinking, well, what are the differences between them? I've heard of the Katana. Well, the Katana, hands down, is the most popular of the bunch. That's because, in my opinion, the Katana is the Swiss Army knife of the bunch, okay? So with a Katana, which, by the way, here's a picture of a Katana right here. We brought all these amps here in the studio, so there it is. Now this right here is the Katana 50 watt, okay? It features a 12-inch speaker. It is 50 watts, and so we're gonna go over some basic things with the Katana. It's also very lightweight. Let me show you guys something, okay? So now you know that I'm a super strong guy, right? Here's one finger, here's a Katana. Okay, they are very lightweight. Now, for all of you tube amp guys, you know something. Tube amps are not light, okay? If you have a, yeah, go ahead, there we go. If you have a tube amplifier, you've got big transformers in it, especially 50 watts, and you're gonna feel that you're moving them around, okay? So with the Boss line, they use Class D digital power amplifiers, which are very strong and very lightweight. And so they're amazing sounding too. They're very transparent. Okay?
Yeah, the Katana, for me, I got one in trade. I don't even know if I intended to get it, but I had like some of the little small desktop amps, and they had the little Yamaha Airs and those kinds of things. And so I got one of these in trade and started taking it to practice, and then I started taking it to gigs. And then like I was going back and forth between some modelly stuff, but then I really liked having a cabinet, so I was exploring some power amp options. I'm like, well, I'll get a Katana, and I did. Chopped the speaker wire, made a jack, plugged it in so I could run the 100 watt out. And the biggest gig that I've played this year, I played with a Katana back behind the Marshall 412s, real clean setup. It was a Katana on stage, and it sounded awesome. I will say Katana, the D will start to behave differently at its, because I play loud, right?
Yeah.
So 100 watt dime the master. At the top end of a Class D amp, it does clip different than an AB amp, like the Special. So even in a digital amp, when you're really driving them, you can feel it different, just like you'd have 6L6 or 80.
Absolutely.
34s, 84s.
Okay, so the next line that we're going to be talking about is, so let's just go over let's just start with one amp and kind of work from there, okay?
Okay.
So the Katana is kind of a Swiss Army knife. So what we're basically meaning by Swiss Army knife is it has a lot of tools in it, okay, in one easy to understand package. So I know you can't see it with this camera angle, but right here you have effectively 5 different tones. The first one is an acoustic tone, okay? Now Jamie's hooked up right here. We have it set up at the full 50-watt volume. The master volume is set at 11 o'clock on all these amplifiers, and the equalizer is set exactly the same on all of them, okay? So just so you know, we're not like twerking one and not diming the other. You know, that's not how it is.
We don't twerk one, we twerk them all.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, as far as how these are microphone, we have a very high quality Shure MV7 large diaphragm dynamic that is miking the room. So it's no different than if someone was sitting here listening with their own ears. You're going to hear the natural room reverb and so on.
Because there is some speaker modeling effect you can do if we were to run line out of each one. It's easier to just have a single mic in the room. You hear the same thing we're hearing.
So yeah, we don't want to.
I have no idea which camera I'm supposed to look at now.
Oh, it's all good. Okay, so we're going to start with the acoustic setting. Now the acoustic setting is supposed to sound like a piezo acoustic. It's definitely got a little extra sparkle to it, but it doesn't sound to me like you're playing an acoustic guitar.
Well, I am rolled off. I don't know if this is right or not, but I think the acoustic settings is for if you were to have an acoustic guitar plugged into
perhaps. It still doesn't have a tweeter in it. It's just a woofer speaker. But it definitely has a chimier sound. Let's get past that and let's get right to the electric guitar.
Do it, man.
Okay. So the first one is just called Clean. And it is designed after a JC 120 clean sound. Now, actually, let's play that again. That's a more pure version. Now, one feature that the Katana has is it has a variable boost circuit. Now, at first when he was playing, I had the boost dialed up a little bit, so it had a little bit of hair behind it.
Silly fella.
I'm a rapscallion. Okay, so now you do have a booster figure, so while he plays a line, that's complete dime. And then back to the normal clean.
Yeah.
So the booster is a nice little feature that brings in a little hair, just to give your guitar that slightly.
It's like a 3 Days shadow.
Yeah. You got a little bit of a compression on top of that. It's just a nice clean. It sounds more like a mid boost to me.
Okay.
Now, the next feature is called Crunch.
This is the one I played the most.
Yeah. Now, to me, that sounds very similar to the clean with the booster all the way up. Okay, but it's a wonderful tone.
I will say this: it doesn't feel like the clean with the booster turned on. Under the fingers.
Feels a little bit darker.
Feels good. I mean, it's
it's a great sound, you know.
Yeah.
Everything, you know. Now the next line after that is called Lead.
Oh yeah, I did. You probably wouldn't play with that much reverb on
Yeah. The last one is Brown, they call it.
That's that even.
So now, just so you know, the way we have the gain set up here is basically at a high noon. But you could also, if you wanted to get silly, I could dime that gain. But one thing I have to say is that even the dimed out gain, it doesn't sound cartoonish. It doesn't sound like a caricature.
It's not an extreme setting of a pod. Yeah,
no, it's not. I mean, so it sounds organic. Now, the Katana also puts in a range of effects, okay? So you've been hearing the reverb effect already, but you can also add a delay. There's also different effects. Ron says if you don't do some Mark Knopfler, he's going to be disappointed. Mark?
with the octave on, Ron?
Yeah. Now you also have a modulation effect.
Oh.
So effectively, with the Katana, you've got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, if you get in the modeler, I think it's like 200 effects in there that you can jump from.
The next thing we were going to talk about is the Katana. You can download a free editor.
Yeah, so there's 6 functions, right, on the effects, and then you can change which effect is assigned to each of those 6, and kind of tweak some of the parameters. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Katana, and with that editor, you just plug it into a laptop or an iPad or whatever, and you can go in there and add all these different effects. It's not Bluetooth, but it is just a simple USB connection. Yeah, it's the sound library stuff. You can go get other people's sounds.
It's all available at no cost at bossus.com.
If you're a tweaker.
Yeah.
But you can also turn the thing on and play it.
Now, so this is a great amplifier that's available in a 50-watt combo. You can get a slightly larger 100-watt version.
And the head's the best deal.
The head is really the best deal. Okay, so the head, which I do have in stock, is the very first head that I've seen that has a little speaker built in.
Yeah, it's got a little practice speaker in there.
Yeah, so the head by itself is a practice amp. Then you can plug it into a cabinet.
Get over there. Get over there.
You can plug it into a cabinet and boom, you've got your head and 412 cabinet, and it's 100 watts. So I mean, it'll definitely move some air. So so that's the basic layout of the Katana. Now the next amp that we're going to talk about after the Katana is called the Blues Cube. Now just so you see, all I'm doing is unplugging his guitar, and this is the Blues Cube. Now the first thing you'll notice about the Blues Cube is the aesthetic. It definitely is for the person who likes the vintage style of the old 1950s and 60s amplifiers. They do put a custom 80-watt vintage design speaker built into the Blues Cube.
Cool.
And it uses the full complement of what Roland calls their tube logic technology. That effectively means that this amp is not all about switching between clean, crunch, lead, brown, all that kind of stuff. You have the sound of a Blues Cube.
And do all of them have the...
No.
They don't.
So the Blues Cube is available in a few variations. And let me scoot back over here. The Blues Cube is available in the one we brought. It's called the Hot, which is a lightweight 40-watt pick it up and go, play a gig amplifier. But then when you move up to the Artist model, it provides an extremely cool feature that I've never seen in an amplifier before. Have you?
I don't understand it enough to know the difference. I mean, the nearest thing I can think of is like, what is it, the Synergy amp, where you like plug in like 2 pre-modules?
See, I'm not even familiar with that one, so you got...
Yeah, there's like a 4-channel head, and you've got these like 2 modules. It was the thing Soldano did.
Oh, Soldano, okay.
Right before, well, he was one, Bogner has one, Diesel has one.
So what the artist does is Boss has teamed up with some of the biggest artists out there. Eric Johnson. Osnoy, Jeff Baxter. Robin Ford, yeah.
Osnoy.
Yeah. I mean, so we'll just say the best of the best.
Osnoy.
The players that players look to, okay?
Like Osnoy.
And what they've done is they have developed special cartridges on the artist models that you can buy, and when you plug them in, it actually looks like a tube.
Yeah.
It adds a channel exactly the way that these artists had done. So it's pretty cool technology, and that being said.
Yeah, and again, and this is going to kind of tell you where my head is on the modeling stuff because I know you all care. But the cool thing about that too is like you can download, Oz and Robin and Eric Johnson, all of them. Like they had TC tone prints for the pedals. They had they got a number of different libraries out there for different like modeling amps. But this is modeled to this cab, to the material, to the speaker, to the wattage, and that's what's cool about it. So like you can pull down an Eric Johnson patch on a Kemper. And depending on what you're listening to it through, it may or may not sound anything like it.
It's not going to be.
You're going to hear exactly what Eric Johnson, Robin Ford,
I'll also
Skunk
state
Baxter
that
actually
I've seen
heard.
them in concert not that long ago. They tour with these. They play these. This is not something that they just did for a buck.
They have. Oz has got a bunch of gear. He's got 2 Rock Marshall. He's got Princeton's. He got several stuff, and then like he was in Nashville, he played through Hot Rod DeVille's, but. Now here's one thing that I know that you'll have to go back and listen to it. But one thing we were noticing, we set all the amplifiers at the same gain settings and so on because we really wanted to understand. Well, do they sound different? They do. Yeah, sure.
So go ahead and fire this one up.
Yeah.
It's louder.
It feels more vintage right off the bat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm talking about like brown face or tweed deluxe cotton. It's even got that Far E Fender thing. It doesn't sound great here, but it sounds awesome right there.
Here, if you choose a side, you're kind of riding the fence on this thing. Go ahead and hit the.
No, I'm fine with the sound.
The Blues Cube Hot. I like it. Oh, I really like it. It has a it has a set boost. So you just press boost.
I'm trying to remember the song.
You got that air. So for guitars that might be like a hollow body guitar, like the one that we're using today, and I'm a big fan of hollow bodies for people who know me, they tend to be a little mid-range heavy, which I like. Okay, that's called tone and taste for all y'all who don't know. But sometimes with an amplifier, they're voiced towards brighter sounding guitars. So with this one, it has a tone button, which effectively adds some clarity to guitars like this. So
Is that foot switchable?
There's a big difference. Now, the technology, just doing a little reading. I wish I had my friend Aaron Marino on tonight. He could probably really get into the tech on it. But with the Blues Cube, this is a project that's been going on for 30 years, okay, nonstop. And they started with analyzing the classics. So your Blackface Deluxe reverbs, your wide panel Tweed Twins, I mean, all the stuff that people go crazy for. They wanted to see what about these gives people that sound and to analyze it. Okay, it wasn't just a snapshot of a sound and here, let's replay it. They wanted to understand. So there's a lot of stuff I do not understand about resonance of certain blah, 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 blah. But I'll tell you, whatever it is that they did, I mean, you can read this whole story about the Tube Logic story on Roland's website. It makes a difference. And this one has the full Tube Logic complement, whereas the Katana does not, according to their site. It does use some Tube Logic inspired stuff, but I think that, you know, when you hear a little bit more complexity, the touch dynamics seem to be a little tighter on the Blues Cube. Price is very similar. They're slightly more expensive, but not by much. And they are audibly a louder and more vibrant amplifier.
So what's the big dog? 212? 80
yeah, so
watts?
as you get in, yeah, it's 85 watts, 212, still featherweight, okay? You can plug the modules into it. I mean, there's a lot of extra features on that model. Those sell new for about $1,300 when you can find them. The lower model, the single 12, is about $1,000 street. So these are less money than the Johnny Come Lately Tone Master series that has been coming out recently, that don't have any expandability. Okay, and if, as I said, kind of a one-trick pony. Another trick that they do is very good, but still, it's not the same thing. Now, the last one we really want to talk about, and we have to say that collectively between the two of us is our favorite, is the next tone. Now, the next tone here is available in 3 basic varieties, okay? The next tone is available in the Stage, which is a single 12 40 watt. The Artist, right? Yeah, which is a 60 watt single 12 wide body combo. And then this one, which is the Special, which just came out this year, which is the wide body combo with an upgraded Waza speaker. The Waza stuff is effectively Roland's custom shop. So that's their the highest end stuff. It's a blue back. It's
it's got a blue surround, but it's not very. I mean, it's got the quality. Well, it's got the treble sweep, but you also have. It's hard to tell because you got like high end dampening and power amp stuff. But it's more of a it's almost like a G65 or something. It's real girthy, powerful speaker.
It's definitely got it. Now this amp has got a very neat feature that we're going to share with you using a screen share thing. Oh, look at this. We're going to have Touch ID or... So with this particular amplifier and as well as the Katana...
Don't you know the password? Why don't you say the password online?
Yeah, to all the thousands of people who are watching.
Yeah, that's
it's pianist.
Yeah, it's a 12-inch pianist. Anyway, so with the Next Tone Special, you can, actually all the Next Tones, you can use your laptop or iPad or maybe your phone. I haven't tried it on a phone. And you can download this little thing here. Go ahead and switch it to the screen. So we're mirroring this, and just do the full screen so they can see what we got going on. So with this technology here, it's completely free of cost. It shows all of the controls of the Katana, or excuse me, of the Next Tone. So you have your clean and lead function, so you can go from clean to lead. You have your equalizer, which has, of course, you know, your American EQ, which seems a little brighter. Go ahead and play a little bit so we can hear that.
Have you got the boost on?
And then the British. No, I sure don't. Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. The British adds a sparkle or something.
That's the British
like
EQ? Yeah, I like it.
Now, over here with the effect, you know, this amp is not about effects the way a Katana is. You have effectively a boost effect, delay, and reverb, okay? Now, with these, though, if you look down here, you have boost, delay, and reverb. You can choose effects that are not on the actual amp. So, like, for example, boost, if I was to turn it on, you can have a pull-down menu that chooses all sorts of different things, including the Boss Blues driver. You have to play from here, so. You can get crazy with it. You even can add like a metal overdrive.
Yeah, I'll let you turn that on. Hey.
Yeah. Distortion. Yeah, there is.
It's like a weird fuzz thing. I like that one.
Just turn it on and off as you will.
Well, but that's what I did with this app was I went through, picked the effects I liked the best, made them in presets, and I'm pretty sure you can have different boost and delays in each preset. And then once they're on the preset, then you just flip through them on the front panel.
So you have a foot switch that you can get for this thing that allows you to go through those.
Well, it's got a potload of other functions, but foot switch does too. Yeah.
You also have the delay function. With the delay, so we have it on tape echo mode. You can even go to the vintage SDE 3000, which is a multi-delay. Or the classic analog style. Now the real power of the next tone, though, is really in the tube modeling.
Well, the whole power amp section.
Oh yeah, really, the whole power amp section is really what makes this amp head and shoulders one of the most advanced amplifiers I've ever seen.
Well, that's why I said in the first of the discussion, I think that's where Boss doubled down. When they came out with ARD, that was their, instead of doing a cabinet, instead of doing a response, instead of doing a preamp and an amp, they did a snapshot of the entire cable to cab, right? And so I think that's what this power amp does, where a lot of, you can get output section, and even Boss came out with that new IR like 200 series on the board. I think that's what this is. They see the power, like, you know, a preamp, it's like a damn Klein. If you're running a Klein down where it's not clipping, the magic transistors don't work anyway. If you've got a Vox or a Fender or Marshall down at 2, you know, the power amp's where the tone's happening at that point. Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? So I think that's what they're latching on to, is
so let me explain what he's talking about.
Power amp control.
So the tubes in it, obviously tube amp, they may have different tubes for different power sections. So a lot of the most popular Fender amplifiers made in the 1950s used a type of power tube called a 6V6. When Marshall came along and started beefing it up a little bit, and Fender as well, they came out with a 6L6. When Vox came out and decided, hey, you know what, we're going to put 4 smaller tubes in there, they came out with the EL84. And later, when Marshall ruled the earth with just gut-wrenching power, the EL34 was the tube of choice. Each one of these power sections, these tubes, really responds in a very different girthy way. And which is why people they go, I like that Fender clean, but they don't know how to define it. What they may be saying is, I like a 6V6 sound. Or, I like the sparkle of a Vox. You could say, I like an EL84 sound. Or I like the warmth and ballsiness of a Marshall. I like EL34s or 6L6s. So with this amplifier, you have the ability to switch between all of those. So let me demonstrate. We're going to have him play. This is in the clean section. We're going to start with the 6v6 tube section here.
Kick the delay off.
Oh, hang on a sec. Oh yeah, let's get that delay out of there.
Yeah.
Now we're going to change while he continues to play to a different tube style. Keep going. With this amplifier, what they've done is they've figured out a way to combine all of these tube power sections into one box with all of the nuance and so on. You want to switch back so we don't have to stay. There we go. With all the nuance and stuff of each one of those tubes, the touch dynamics, and what that means for y'all, means the harder you pick, the more grind you get, but the lighter you pick, it cleans up naturally.
Yeah, and you're running straight up and down. On the lead channel, you've got the preamp drive. You can run it wide open, kind of like more like your train wreck, and you can hear even more of the impact of the tubes that way too.
Well, I mean, this amplifier, though, in a nutshell, with this software, that's free. It comes completely free with it. It works with your computer, phone, or whatever. Is so advanced, and again, just so you know, it is lightweight. You know, I mean, granted, it's a little bit heavier, but this is an amp that without any effort, you can pick up and just go to a gig, but be loud enough to fill a room easily.
Yeah, I played it in the last show was a conference room, and I had 4 15s, 2 2.5-inch top subs for the vocalist, bass and keys going out. And I played this unmic'd open setting.
Yeah,
I mean, fine.
These are crazy good and very versatile. Now they also, in the power control, allow you to cut the volume down. Right in here, we have it at half volume. We have it at half. This is only 40 watts. Well, we did that so that it would match the other two.
Yeah, 50, 50, 40, right?
Yeah, so this guy right here, full volume, is going to be probably 80 watts because it has 60 and then max.
Right.
So this is going to be double the power of the other two models that we've been showing you today.
Well, and you don't have, so you were playing the clean channel?
Mm-hmm. See, we haven't even gotten to the lead channel.
Yeah, and overwhelmingly the most powerful tone shaping thing on this is the power amp dampening. You have the low and the high. So it's basically like every modeler in the world where you'd shelf it for anything over, in most cases, 6,000, sometimes even down to 4,000. That you tune it right where you're at.
And what he's talking about is sometimes you'll have an amplifier that's kind of a mud bucket, okay? And with that, you can take this amp dampening, okay? You have the bottom and the top. As you turn it, it cuts certain aspects of it. So if it's too muddy and ill-defined, you turn the bottom knob and it starts cleaning up.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the fat. Well, I mean, and the power amp responds as if you're like.
It does. So just, there's so many amplifiers out there. Like you could take two amps of Fenders, for example. You could take a Fender Twin and a Fender Super. Now you look at them in the same tubes and say they sound so different. Well, with this amplifier, you can tune one amp to sound like two amps.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, I don't know if anybody will believe us or not. I don't know that I care because it didn't matter. I bought this after we plugged in. We had the Katana head, we had a Marshall Origin 50, and we had your train wreck model up. And I plugged this in and was dialing around, A/B in between the two, and was able to convincingly, I've had very expensive amplifiers before, convincingly dial up that sound and touch. Here, that's my main gig.
And just so you guys know, as far as price-wise, this amp sells for about $1,000. Okay, so it is not an expensive amplifier by any stretch of the imagination.
1,000 new, that is.
Well, yeah, and so the thing is that you're seeing this. Oh my goodness, he's got his computer hooked to it. What is it, dude? It takes zero computer knowledge to really hook this thing up. It's so intuitive, and it just works. This product is great. It will not fail you, and it's just a phenomenal product. But again, that being said, you just really need to come and experience them for yourself. So with the 3 models, the Katana, as I said, is a great kind of Swiss Army knife. If you don't know what style you really are at, get a Katana. You know, if you want to play Ozzy in 1 second and whatever another. If you're a guy who goes, man, I want the sound of a vintage amp, but I want to be reliable, the Blues Cube is hard to miss.
I want a deluxe, my favorite deluxe on 4.5. But it's starting to go out on me, and I've got $600 tubes in it, and I don't want to take it for the gig, and I want to be able to get that sweet sound at bedroom levels and at twice a deluxe volume level. I dare you to bring that amp in, set it behind the door. We'll put this one right beside it, plug them both in. If you can figure it out, you got to give them like a 1%.
Yeah, I mean,
off the cut.
I'll tell you, man.
Brad will give you a free T-shirt.
The next tone is sick. It's really sick.
And now, maybe a bite of his sandwich.
One last little thing, and then we're going to close it out for you. But if you guys have been following our social media, we actually got a special shipment. It's very small. We've already been selling some of them. Okay, but Americana Fest just happened in Nashville. A couple of weeks ago. I mean, you had all the biggest stars for, let's say, the outlaw country genre, which is my favorite style of music. Everybody from Hayes Carl to guys like Jason Isbell and whatever, they're all playing places like Basement East and Exit In and, Mercy Lounge and so on. Third and Lindsley, they all these different venues throughout Nashville. Well, Roland was asked to provide at their Artists and Relations department to provide amplifiers for these venues. We bought all of those amplifiers that were used. So these were amps that were used during Americana Fest on stage by your heroes, okay? They're going to be offered at a discount. Oh, I should be saying will be. They're being offered at a discount. We've already sold several of them. And so if you've been looking for a new Katana, if you've been looking for a Next Tone or even a Blues Cube, we got a couple left, you need to come down and check it out because it's your opportunity to get a brand new full warranty amp that might show a ding or something like that. But it was a ding that was caused by someone being awesome, okay? Yeah. I mean, not like a ding because some dummy was mistreating
all the beer stains on top are from a lifelong commitment to alcoholism, not like you recreational drinkers.
But these are a special deal that we've got only at Main Stage, and again, we've got documentation if you need it, but it's all there. But these are full warranty, brand new amps that you're going to get at a discount, and we've got some available in all 3 flavors. So come on down, check them out. But really, even if you don't get one of those, you really need to try these amplifiers out because I've been seeing a lot of friends who go on about, I'm looking for a great amp. Someone told me a Blues Junior is good, or a Vox AC15, or a Marshall, whatever. First of all, those are all great amplifiers. But if you don't know, you might want to try one of these because it will definitely hit you on your low mood, your high mood. It's going to hit it all and be a lot more reliable without having to worry about tubes and tube problems. But again, hey, I want to thank you guys again for watching with us. Definitely share with your other music friends. Follow us on YouTube if you do that kind of stuff. But otherwise, we'll see you back next Tuesday for another riveting episode of Main Stage Music Live. So.